Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Deb, and welcome to another episode of PTSD and Beyond. Welcome to the PTSD and Beyond podcast, where we give you insights into post-traumatic stress, trauma recovery, healing, and beyond. I'm Dr. Deb Lind, and in each episode, I have a conversation with a guest who will stimulate your mind, touch your heart, and connect with your spirit, and also give you a greater understanding of yourself and others on this healing and recovery journey walked by so many of us before, wounded healers with lived experience and heroes. Hopefully, we'll also provide a glimpse into possibilities and purpose, hope, and inspiration. Thanks for listening and enjoy the podcast. One last thing, guys, before we dive into today's episode, if you'd like an ad-free experience and like early access to new episodes and special events, I want to let you know you can join us at patreon.com. That is patreon.com/PTSD and Beyond. All right, let's do it. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of PTSD and Beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Deb here. Yes, in the tundra of Minnesota, it is still cold. How's everybody doing? Hey, I want to give a huge shout out to a country that is making its way up to the top 5, and that would be Jamaica. Jamaica, thank you so much to all our listeners in Jamaica. We're happy to see that you're here, and hopefully you're finding some value in what you learn out of the podcast. Today's episode, guys, I want to talk about something that actually doesn't get talked about, and I'm not sure why it doesn't get talked about. Sometimes I think that the topics that we have, not us at PTSD and Beyond, but there are these calendar dates where we have awareness dates and we have awareness months. And sometimes I think that those months and those dates, while they're great to bring awareness, at some point, the awareness months become, surface. We're just scratching the surface. It's just the tip of the iceberg, we say here in the United States, when we want to talk about something and go deeper. And awareness dates and months, like I said, they're wonderful. They do start the conversation. It's important because there are many places where we start those conversations because of the awareness dates. And at the same time, I also think, and I do believe this, that we need to go deeper. We need to go beyond the surface. We need to go beyond, right? Gee, what a concept. Hey, isn't that the podcast called PTSD and Beyond? So today I want us to go a little deeper. I want us to go deeper with something that I believe doesn't get, I actually know it doesn't get talked about. And then when it does, you get the aha moments for folks. And what I want to talk about today is anniversary dates. Anniversary dates. When do we talk about in our stories? In our stories, as well as when we're sharing our story, when we're talking about successes, when others want to learn from us, it's always about, what did you do to reduce anxiety? What did you do to help yourself with rumination? What do you do to make sure that you feel safe? When do we ever talk about the turning point? The turning point. Anniversary dates are dates of turning points. We can look at people who decided to stop drinking alcohol. And when you ask them, what was that defining moment? They can tell you. They can tell you the story. They can tell you in detail the moment, where they were at, what they were doing, what they were thinking. They can tell you. And they celebrate that day. They celebrate that day. When do we talk about the turning points in mental health? A turning point, for example, could be somebody going and getting help. I need to get help. Another turning point could be maybe somebody decided, you know what, I'm going no contact. This is all about generational abuse, and it stops with me. That day can be someone's turning point of an anniversary. So I'm a little bit different. I'm laughing because in Minnesota, when someone says, "Oh, that's interesting," that's really code for, "Yeah, I don't like it." I've lived here so long that it's starting to wear on me. And so when I say I do something different, I actually celebrate my anniversary day. And I've got a couple different anniversary days. One anniversary day is coming up, and it's been 30 years. I'll repeat that. 30 years, like as in 30. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. That's a hell of a long time. And you know what's really funny is before I started thinking about doing this podcast episode with this topic, I was laughing to myself, and I had this awareness of, like the light bulb clicks on, you're having that dialogue with yourself, and the light bulb clicked on of, I can remember when I couldn't laugh about it. I remember the years where I had wanted to be where I'm at today. And I wondered, would I ever get there? I hope I would get there. I wanted to be there. Heck, you know what? I wanted to teleport myself there because it hurt so bad. It was devastating. So I'm coming up to my 30-year anniversary, and I don't talk about this part a lot. So this is new for me. I mean, there are some pieces of this part of my story that people do know about, but it's not something that I talk a lot about. My turning point moment is what I'm talking about in particular. Turning point moment. And in the healing journey, there are multiple turning points. So it's not like it's just one and then, off to the races we go, and there were a couple different ones at that point. And then there was another turning point, and that was in October. So I know specifically the months. But this particular turning point was with the car accident when I was 16 years old. Yep, do the math. Do the math. No shame on that one, man. I'm out there with that. And I never told my dad that I overheard that conversation. I never told him. And I never told my biological mother either that I overheard that conversation. But I did. I heard everything that was said. And I remember laying in bed saying to myself, Debbie, you got to take care of yourself. So 30 freaking years, man. What am I going to do? I don't know. But I can tell you again, like I said just a minute ago, that it was painstaking sometimes. I didn't know if I was going to get to the point where one day I could laugh about it, or one day I could be really proud of myself, or would I look back and say to myself, you made the right decision. Did I make mistakes? Oh yeah, I sure did. Yeah, there are things, actually, I thought about this too while I was preparing for the podcast. Are there things I would have done differently? Yes. And it's not because I made a mistake. It's because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the knowledge and the experience as a 16-year-old as I do now. And doing this work, right? Being in the industry, there are things that I wish I would have known, and I think I would have made different decisions for myself. I would have advocated for myself if I knew that I could have, especially when it came to like speaking with lawyers or making my preference of where to be known. And I didn't know that I could have. And I'm not really even sure back then if you could have. I know today you can. But I wish I would have known some of those things. And then I do believe that some decisions I would have made differently for myself. And then I do say to myself, you know what? I did the best that I could, which is true, with given the information that I had. And some of that information was not complete because some information was deliberately withheld and kept. Yeah, deliberately. So at the same time, I recognize all of those things, and I'm really proud of myself to have maintained a promise to me for 30 freaking years. I can remember one time, I'm going to give a shout out here to Dr. Barbara Krupp, who is retired. Barbara helped me early on in this healing journey. And I remember going to her office one day saying, I'm not disciplined. I'm so glad I can laugh at it today. I kid you not. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm not disciplined. What makes you think you're not disciplined? So I gave her the example of what I thought I'm not disciplined, right? And then she asked, what was my definition of a person being disciplined? And I said, well, a person, who's consistent, who follows through, who's accountable. If you can't do something, then you own it. You say you can't. And she's like, and you don't see you like this? Oh my gosh. Anyway, what I always say too, like, if you can't make a promise to yourself, who can you make a promise to? You're like one of the most important people in your own life. And I hope inside myself, that kid, that spirit of that child, that 16-year-old kid, I hope she's in there going, thanks for having my back. Thank you for keeping your promise when they didn't experience that in their life. Thank you. Thank you for keeping your promise to take care of me. Thank you for keeping your promise to finish school. Thank you for your promise to make sure that I'd be safe. Thank you for making sure that my spirit stayed intact and that you still embrace it today. Thank you for that. I hope that inner child, that kid is, I do. I haven't had a dream. I don't know. I got nothing. I haven't had a dream. There hasn't been something from like, I don't know, my childhood at that time that like coincidentally is on television or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to see like an Aquanet hair commercial. Now that would be a sign. Because back in the day, I mean, we had some big ass hair, man. We did. And I have to say, I was part of that crowd. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's true. And to be able to share this with everybody. The anniversary dates. What are your anniversary dates? Do you look at it and say to yourself, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been, 5 years or 3 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. And it's with dread. Because I got to tell you, early on, it was so, like I said, painstaking. And I was even trying to think today, where was the tipping point and turning point moment of where I realized that it wasn't painstaking anymore and that it was a celebration to honor that commitment, to honor that promise. I can't remember. There wasn't a definitive like, oh, yep, this year is the year where I thought, oh my gosh, you're great. I don't have any memory of this. I just know that it happened where one year it wasn't like that anymore for me. It just wasn't. I don't remember specifically, like I said, the specific year, but I do know, obviously, because look at where I'm at now. It just happened. It just happened. And yes, can I remember the times where I would count and I would say, gosh, I can't believe it's been this year. I can't believe it's been. Yeah, I can remember counting and crying and mourning the things that would never happen, mourning the loss of deception, right? So you had this I don't say preconceived notion, but you had what you thought was true, and you find out that it's not. So you're mourning that too. So there's different levels of grief and mourning associated to different types of grief, right? And also the loss of the things that I'll never be able to experience. And what makes the difference for me today is I get to do those things. I get to do those things, not on the receiving end as, mother to daughter or mother to child. But I get to do those things in my life because of breaking cycles. And I get to experience my kids' experiences by watching them and by knowing that this is a broken cycle here and a clean slate now for generations. So the inherited component is significantly different than what I got. The inherited component now is healthy. The component is of love and not of fear and threat and terror, but of love and acceptance and nurturing. So I can experience witnessing that for them. And that in itself is an anniversary. So the awareness pieces and the realization is, I can't say that it gets better. You have to do the work in order for life to get better. And I sometimes believe too that, again, we don't talk about our anniversary dates in the way of the turning point, and for recognizing that and for honoring it and celebrating it in some way. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate it other than just saying that I'm proud of myself. Actually, you want to know what? I'll share something with you. Can I share something with you? I did some squats today at 60 pounds. I think that would be my way of celebrating. Yep. Because today was the day that I said, you got to hit the gym, man. You got to go. I was thinking about this podcast, and it's like, we need to have awareness days. We celebrate our birthday. Why not celebrate our turning point anniversary? Do you know what your turning point anniversary is? And how do you celebrate it? Where are you at in the healing journey with the turning point? Are you still at the place of mourning? Embrace that. Even celebrate the mourning components. Because I used to think, like I said, will I ever laugh about this? Will I ever look back and say, yeah, you did good for yourself? Because I'll tell you what, that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. And to honor that promise for all these years, 30 freaking years. Why am I sharing this? Because I think there's somebody out there right now that looks at their turning point moment and wonders if they made the right decision. They made the right decision. Or are they wondering, can I keep this promise to myself? Can I? Can I keep this promise to myself for the rest of my life? Am I strong enough to do that? Am I determined enough to do that? Will I be able to succeed? And you know what I think? I think if you've still listened to this podcast episode and you're right here, you're still here, then yes, I believe that is possible and true for you. I do. All right, you guys, you know what I'm going to say. You know what's coming next. I truly believe this. I truly believe that we are better together and that we are definitely stronger together. And everybody, take what resonates and go beyond.